Welcome everybody to another episode of Fins Nation. I'm your host Louis Sung, and I am back after taking Friday off. There was just not a whole lot to talk about, plus I had some things I had to take care of here at home, but now I am back and ready to give you some more Dolphins talk, and I just wanted to go ahead and discuss something that I was privy to, but I wasn't exactly involved in, because that's how the world of Twitter works. You get involved in conversations, even though you didn't say anything, you didn't address this person, but somehow you just get tagged in the conversation, and so it goes. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you a brief discussion on what Miami Dolphins Twitter is talking about and what I believe it means. So the topic at hand is what is going to be more important for the Miami Dolphins' success for the running game specifically. Is it going to be the offensive line or is it going to be the quality of the running back? Now, I know that many of us are set in our ways regarding this whole thing, and it does come back around to what's going on during mandatory minicamp, as well as a certain someone who is looming large over the franchise, wondering if we're going to pick him up or not. But before we get into the details really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that this show is brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay, go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide based on what is available. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, that's promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. Okay, folks, so let me go ahead and break down exactly what I'm talking about when I say there were some, let's say, less than nice things being exchanged on Twitter. Now, that in and of itself is nothing new. Twitter is a cesspool when it comes to discussions that are had. There are a lot of insults thrown around, a lot of keyboard warrior talk, basically come out and see me in person and we'll see how tough you are, all that wonderful nonsense. But if you want some place where you don't have to deal with that, I am just going to go ahead and plug it real quick. OnlyFins is available on Discord. It's only $3 a month, and the 3 yards per carry crew can educate you on a whole lot of stuff, including myself, because I have learned a lot from them over the years. Now, with that being said, what exactly is it that started this whole discussion? So there was a certain individual on Twitter who tagged a whole bunch of people. Big E, I'm sure anybody who's listening to the show has at least heard of Big E at this point. If you haven't, then just look him up, and I'm sure that you'll be able to find him instantly. There's some guys, some other podcasts that he's trying to get a hold of, and the question is that Connor Williams is still not re-signed. He is still looking for more money. He is looking for a long-term contract. And all this we've discussed already on this show before, talking about how Connor Williams is a very, very important piece of this offensive line. If you were on the show when Ron Caniff was on here with me, he was basically looking at this whole Liam Eichenberg getting the orange jersey thing as a sort of veiled message to Connor Williams, basically saying, hey man, look, we want you here, but look, we just gave Liam Eichenberg the jersey. You see, we don't really need you per se. You should just show up. But honestly, I really don't think that Connor Williams is sweating the idea of Liam Eichenberg beating him out for the starting job anytime soon. It's actually kind of funny if you really think about it, because there is no way on God's green earth that Connor Williams does a fantastic job that he did last year, and then he's just going to miraculously be succeeded by Liam Eichenberg, of all people. So I'm not even a little bit worried about that. But what the problem is is that we're still having the Dalvin Cook discussion. Okay, so recently Dalvin Cook went on to an interview and said that he would love to join the Miami Dolphins, that he feels like the roster is an incredible roster that he would like to be a part of, that the fit on the offense would be perfect. He likes that Mike McDaniel has the way of making running backs look really, really good in any offense. Of course, he's seeing dollar signs. Of course he is. Even if he ended up taking a cheap deal this year, like a one-year contract, let's say he just took a one-year contract, you don't think that after a year with Mike McDaniel, maybe looking the best he's ever had, because he's going to have somebody who actually wants to emphasize the fact that just how good he can be in an offense, he's going to be seeing dollar signs, man. He's absolutely going to be seeing that. So of course he still wants to come to Miami. It's his hometown. He gets to play for his hometown team. He gets to be able to revitalize his career, so to speak, even though his career hasn't really needed any revitalization per se. All that is in the air. But the problem is that Connor Williams did not show up to mandatory minicamp. He sat out. I do not believe that any fines have been sent his way. We haven't heard any reports of that, so I'm just going to go ahead and say the Dolphins opted not to fine him. Mike McDaniel said that he had been in contact with Connor Williams regarding the whole thing. He hadn't officially been excused from minicamp for any reason, but he doesn't seem like McDaniel is looking to actually take away any of the money that he has already earned. So all that is great. All right, fine. We're playing softball with Connor Williams. We're saying, okay, well, we understand. We hear what you're saying. But there is not a whole lot of money to go around right now for the Dolphins. And there's a lot of guys who need new contracts. Christian Wilkins needs a new contract. Zach Sealer needs a new contract. Connor Williams needs a new contract. And later down the line, there's going to be even more contracts that you're going to have to sign people to. So eventually, there's going to have to be a concession made somewhere. Who is the guy that the Dolphins decide not to keep? Now, conventional wisdom would say that the one guy that you absolutely need to keep no matter what is Christian Wilkins, because of what he means to that defense. He's the anchor. He's the middle of that defensive line. He's causing chaos at all times. He's probably going to command at least $20 million per year at this point. That's just how it is with Christian Wilkins and his situation. Now, the thing with Christian Wilkins, and I addressed this and I brought it up a few shows ago. You would have to look back to remember. But I've discussed the possibility that maybe the Miami Dolphins are not necessarily looking to extend Christian Wilkins now, because of all the players on this team, Christian Wilkins seems the least worried about what his money is going to be. I'm sure he wants to get paid. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. He's going to try to push for as much money as he possibly can. But what I mean is that he doesn't seem to be in as big of a hurry as Zach Sealer and Connor Williams. Connor Williams is going to be a free agent after this year, and obviously he would like to have more money. I'm sure he would. And Zach Sealer is also going to be needing a new contract, and I think that he deserves one with how well he's played. I feel like that he's severely underrated as a defensive tackle in this league, although he is getting some respect from certain pundits nowadays. But all that said, of all the players, Christian Wilkins has shown up. He's been his usual chipper self. He's been a leader in the locker room. He's a team captain kind of player. Honestly, of all the players on this team, he is the most important one to get a new contract, but he also seems to be the one that they're in the least of a hurry to make sure it gets paid. And maybe that is some strategic value there. Maybe this kind of whole discussion, because just because you don't sign a player to a new contract does not mean that talks are not being had. So just picture this for one moment. You have Christian Wilkins, and Chris Grier comes up to him and says, "We want you to stay around long term. We would like you to be a lifelong Dolphin." Maybe they've discussed things like that. Christian Wilkins has mentioned that he loves Miami. He really likes to be here, and just based on his attitude, his charisma, just the fact that he just loves life in all of its facets. He's the kind of guy you can't help but smile when he's around. So maybe Chris Grier comes up to him and says, "Listen, you see the situation we're in. We're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. We want to get as much as we possibly can this year to make it so that we can get to where we're wanting to go. We want to pay you, but we need your help." Christian Wilkins seems like the kind of guy, and again, I am speculating. This is just pure speculation. I have no insider knowledge on any of this, but he seems like the kind of guy who would look at Chris Grier and says, "You know what? I want to win a Super Bowl. You can go ahead and wait until after the season. We'll work it out then. And whatever happens, happens." So that means that if Christian Wilkins ends up going to another team, they made that gamble, but maybe, just maybe, they're looking at him and saying, let's pay these other guys first, so because they're grouchy and you're not. Because what is it the term always is? The squeaky wheel gets the grease. Well, Christian Wilkins never squeaks. He just never does. He seems particularly, he's always very happy. He's always very content with everything. Now, if it's me, I feel like I should reward Christian Wilkins for that level of patience in the future. Just say, listen, man, thank you for everything you've done. You continue to play at a fantastic level. I'm going to find a way to give you some extra bonus somehow. That's how I would do it. But I'm not an NFL GM. Chris Grier has something that he has to figure out. Now, all of this I've brought up about Christian Wilkins, but the discussion is regarding Connor Williams. Connor Williams is clearly not being patient about this whole thing. And I get it. The guy had only a 2-year contract. He's now in the last year of his contract. He wants a place where he can settle down and say, this is going to be my home for the next 3 or 4 years. I get that. I think the Dolphins need Connor Williams. I don't think that they can afford to just assume that Butch Barry is going to come in here and fix everything by putting Liam Eichenberg at center, making Austin Jackson play right tackle again, and just miraculously everybody is going to look really, really good. Now, I will say this. Butch Barry recently came out in an interview talking about Austin Jackson and what he's been seeing from him during OTAs, mandatory minicamp, things like that. And from what Butch Barry has said is that Austin Jackson has shown a lot of intentionality. Now, interesting that he uses that kind of a word. He's even saying, like, this is what he says. This is the full quote, just for anybody who hasn't seen it. He's been awesome to work with, he really has, and he's been very intentional in everything that we try to do. He's taking the approach, the process, the standard that we're trying to go about it, and he's embraced it. And look, it's not going to be perfect. No player plays the perfect game. No player has the perfect practice, but he has intentionality in everything he's trying to do, and he comes with an emphasis every day. Every day he has an emphasis on what he wants to get better at, and that's, as a coach, that's all you can ever ask for, just to go back in time a little bit, the way things went in Denver in 2022. Now, that's very interesting, the way that he puts that. So think about what he just said. He says that Austin Jackson is pushing to get better, which is good to hear. He's saying that he's been very intentional with everything. He's trying his best. Great. Wonderful. Now, he talked about going back in time, the way things went in Denver in 2022. Because all he could ask for is somebody who wants to get better, pushes himself to get better, does everything possible that he can to get better at something, and he wants to get better, and he says, I want to get better at X, Y, and Z. So, is it possible that in Butch Barry's own estimation of the Denver Broncos situation, that there were certain players on the Denver offensive line that just didn't particularly care about pushing themselves to the limit? Is it possible that they were not putting forth the effort that Butch Barry believed that they should have? Every level is different for every coach. What one coach may say is a whole lot of nothing may be something incredible to another coach. Because we hear this all the time. Brian Flores said that Tua Tagovailoa didn't care. He wasn't trying very hard. He didn't want to get better at all that wonderful nonsense. And now Mike McDaniel shows up, and Tua is suddenly the hardest working player in the locker room. He's always doing everything he can to get better at everything he's doing, etc., etc. So from one coach to another, you see a complete 180 in how the approach is apparently looked at. So is that just the coach interpreting the situation, or is there a complete change in the player? Only people who are in that locker room at that time are going to be able to tell what the difference is. And I guarantee you nobody's going to snitch on this situation. So regardless of what you think of it, now we have something that we can hang our hats on. Austin Jackson is trying to get better. Now, will he actually accomplish it? Here's the thing. I don't see anywhere in that quote that Butch Barry said Austin Jackson has had great improvement. All he has said is that he's been awesome to work with and that he's been doing everything he can to get better. Did he say that he got better? I didn't see that. That's a very interesting quote. So we will see what happens with Austin Jackson. But I want to go ahead and highlight one other thing. Because we're talking about whether it's more important to sign Connor Williams or to go get Dalvin Cook. I have been on record saying I would love to have Dalvin Cook in Miami. Do I think it's necessary? No. I really don't. I don't think it's necessary. I think it would be a fantastic luxury. I think it would be a fantastic move for their depth, because if something happens to Dalvin Cook, you can just go to Raheem Mostert. If something happens to Raheem Mostert, you can go right to Jeff Wilson. And if something happens to Jeff Wilson, you can go right to Devon Achane. That depth chart, of course, is subject to change as the weeks go on. So for all we know, it could be a completely different order at the end of the day. But as far as what is needed, I agree that Connor Williams is more important. Because if you look at it, watch this. I went ahead and I checked out Pro Football Focus, and obviously Pro Football Focus, you need to have some certain level of a grain of salt attached, because their grades are sometimes hit and miss depending on who you ask. So I went ahead and I looked at what the offensive line for the Miami Dolphins was graded out last year. And keep this in mind. Remember that this is with Teron Armstead periodically going out. This is with the fact that Austin Jackson was not available most of the season. It was just either Greg Little, or it was a Kendall Lamb, or it was a Brandon Shell who came off the street. There was just a whole bunch of guys at that position. And, of course, you had the revolving door of Liam Eichenberg, Robert Jones, just guys that you don't really want starting over there. So if you look at the Miami Dolphins gradings, as far as their pass blocking goes, you can see that they're all the way down here at the bottom. They were 29th in the league with a 59.3 grading for Pro Football Focus. The only teams that were worse were the New York Jets, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Tennessee Titans. Very interesting. Okay, so that means Joe Burrow is finding ways to get by without a top-tier offensive line, but it does help that they have fantastic weapons in the Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd, and then there's just so many fantastic players. T. Higgins, Joe Mixon is his running back. There's players all over the place. So once again, kudos once again to Mike McDaniel for saying weapons were more important than offensive linemen. However, something that I found very interesting, and this is very interesting. So for all the talk that we had about the Miami Dolphins not running the football enough, out of all the teams in the NFL, per Pro Football Focus, the Miami Dolphins were actually top 10. They were 7th overall in run blocking, specifically run blocking. The teams that were better than them, the Atlanta Falcons number 1, Baltimore Ravens 2, Eagles 3, Vikings 4, Bears 5, Chiefs 6, and then the Dolphins at 7. So, and now I'll go ahead and I'll go down here to show you guys something else that's interesting. The Miami Dolphins running backs. So we've talked about this before, and this is when they initially signed them back, I was very happy about this. As of last year, Raheem Mostert, in his first year back with the Dolphins since 2015, which was a long, long time ago when he was just basically a kick returner. He played only one game. Raheem Mostert ran the ball 181 times for 891 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he averaged 4.9 yards per attempt. Jeff Wilson, during his Miami tenure, just with the Miami Dolphins, he played because he had 8 games with the San Francisco 49ers in 2022 as well. With the Dolphins, he had 84 attempts, 392 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he averaged 4.7 yards a carry. So, with that in mind, if the Miami Dolphins just manage to, let's just say they don't change anything on the offensive line, I am still very much convinced that Connor Williams will show up and he will eventually come and play center. Liam Eichenberg is not going to play center all through training camp. I really don't think Connor Williams is going to hold out that long just to prove that he wants a new contract. Everybody knows that he wants a new contract, and I'm sure that they're looking at it very hard. But what's more important for the Dolphins? I would definitely have to say the offensive line is more important at this point. Connor Williams is more important at this point. So I am not somebody who believes that it has to be an either-or discussion. I believe the Dolphins can fit Dalvin Cook in somehow. I believe that they can make it happen with him, and that they can give whoever else needs to show up and get them the new contracts if they decide that the time is now. Connor Williams has made his point. He wants a new contract. I'm sure the Dolphins are going to be looking at a very difficult way of making it happen, because it's going to be difficult with only $13 million in cap space, but I am confident that they will eventually make it happen. But if they decide to not get Dalvin Cook, that's fine with me. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson both have been able to do some fantastic things behind this Miami Dolphins offensive line. If they had run the ball more, I am fully confident that Raheem Mostert easily would have hit 1,000 yards rushing. And that's with so much emphasis on the passing game with Tua, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and now you're going to have Robbie Chosen, you have Braxton Berrios, Cedric Wilson's coming back. There's weapons all over this team. So I believe you get Connor Williams back. this offensive line after just the second year in the same offense? That's the one factor that we haven't talked about all this time. Finally, after all these years, the Miami Dolphins are going to be in the same exact offensive style with the same exact coach for the second time in a row. Hallelujah. No changes. There's not going to be anything weird happening. There's no sudden change in regime because Brian Flores can't keep an offensive coordinator to save his life. It's the same offense. And they're finally just going to be able to build upon the foundation that they already had. They are not going to be trying to lay new bricks at the bottom of the pile and start all over again with a completely new style. The coaching style is different just because Butch Barry is now the offensive line coach and not Matt Applebaum. But the offense itself is still the same general philosophy. And that, I believe, is going to help so much. So, by all means, go get Dalvin Cook. Maybe Liam Eichenberg can learn the center. But I believe that the most important thing, yes, I agree that Connor Williams is more important to this offense than Dalvin Cook is at this point. And if the Dolphins can get both, great. But if you're going to put a gun to my head and say, which one do you want more? I want Connor Williams. That's going to be it for this show. Thank you all so much for listening. If you haven't already done so, make sure you go check out You Break Wheel Fix. They are our good friends over there who can help us with any wheel needs. If you need to get your wheels fixed, they can help you out. If you want to get your ride upgraded with suspension modifications or anything of the sort, you can reach out to them for that too. Just call them out, 305-748-0112, or online at youbreakwheelfix.com to get yourself an estimate. And of course, go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. All right, we will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Fins Nation.